This is a disclaimer for all these videos that you're about to see. These didn't actually happen on the day. Apparently, I have filmed separate days, but they all got deleted. I had a lot of these filmed, but I deleted them on accident, and so I'm restarting. September is Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month. Because I live with a spinal cord injury, I wanted to do a fun series where I would correlate a letter that shares a problem that many other people with a spinal cord injury goes through. So this is day 1. It's my 4th year paralyzed. I know, shocking, right? And this month always holds a special meaning to me. Being intubated for 400 plus days was a nightmare I hope no one experiences. September is also a great month for me to talk about because it's Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month. Honestly, my favorite month. In order to share as much information in one month as possible, I'm going to be doing an alphabet series about everything I go through, as well as other people with a spinal cord injury. So today is letter A. Letter A stands for autonomic dysreflexia, or in short, AD. Autonomic dysreflexia is a dangerous condition that usually comes up a few short weeks or months after spinal cord injury. For me, it came up 3 months after my spinal cord injury. The doctors found I was always having a mild reaction of AD for a long time since my body wasn't used to everything. The reaction happens when something below your level of injury is in discomfort and or in pain. AD can thankfully be regulated, but it can come up from a multitude of reasons: weight shifting, cathing, bowel program, even through a sickness. Because I'm injured at C3, I have a very high reaction of AD for mild things. AD can be very different from one another and can occur from different reasons. Typically, people who have a spinal cord injury around T6 to C1 have the condition AD. Autonomic dysreflexia is a very serious condition, and it typically spikes the blood pressure and heart rate, and it can lead to a multitude of problems if not treated quickly. Some of the conditions AD causes are stroke, seizures, and cardiac arrest. Yeah, not fun. My AD spikes when I need to do a cath, do a bowel program, or when I overheat. Matthew has seen me at my worst. During a bad AD episode that we couldn't treat right away, I was sweaty and having hot flashes and had a pounding headache. I ended up having to stay in bed the whole day because everything triggered it. AD is a very serious condition and should be treated as so. That's letter 1 of 27. Stick around to see letter B. Today is the second letter B. The reason why I'm doing this alphabet series is because it's Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month, and this is such a big month that needs tons more awareness, more than you see now. I like to explain spinal cord injury like an iceberg, this image being the best. At the tip of the iceberg, you see the smallest problems we deal with, not being able to walk or not being able to feel. But below the tip of the iceberg, there is so much more problems as individuals deal with a spinal cord injury, one of those being bladder health. Or to put it simply, the bladder. I'm going to be talking about my experience, so please note that this isn't everyone's experience. The bladder is one of the several things that gets lost due to a spinal cord injury, and losing its function becomes a daily task that you need to take care of. And there are several complications if not taken care of correctly. One of those being a UTI, or a spike in autonomic dysreflexia. When someone gets a spinal cord injury, their bladder becomes what is known as neurogenic, basically meaning that person does not have any control over their bladder and cannot void on their own pee. And in return, we have to do what is known as an IC, intermittent catheter, or just have to use one of the many catheters, condom, which is external, suprapubic, IC, just to name a few. While doing an IC, the person or caregiver has to be very sanitary, because it's basically a foreign object going into our bodies daily. I use an IC, intermittent catheter. I use about 8 of them a day, averagely. But when I tell you, that's actually less catheters than what I used 2 years ago. I'm 4 years into my spinal cord injury, and my journey with my bladder and my bladder health has been nothing but annoying. In 2019, I went septic multiple times, about 18 times due to being a quadriplegic. Not completely paralyzed though. My bladder was the main cause. In 2021, I was put on an hourly regimen of catheters. This meant I was using 24 catheters a day. My body was getting used to a crazy amount, and my AD had skyrocketed like crazy. I ended up having mini strokes. Yeah, that actually isn't healthy. And this made me use over a staggering 10,000 catheters in less than 16 months. But this wasn't the end of my catheter journey. Believe me, a few short months later, in fact, even a whole year later, I had only used 9 catheters because of a doctor who claimed me as just having incontinence and being able to void on my own. which gave me such serious UTIs. I was sent to the emergency department with very high blood pressure because my autonomic dysfunction was through the roof. This was life-threatening, not only to my body, but to my literal life. I wish I could sue him, but it's almost been 2 years. I can now confidently say I use more than 9 a year. Fast forward a year, and now I use 8 catheters every single day, and have been since September 16th, 2024. I wish I could have just fast forwarded the entire process, but that's not the case. To get to the almost perfect bladder I have today, I needed tons of Botox, hours of trying to find schedules, strokes, deadly UTIs, and a horrible doctor. So yes, bladder health is extremely important, and I'm super grateful for the schedule and health I have today. That's letter 2 of 27. See you for letter C. It is day 3 of sharing an alphabet letter that correlates to one problem out of the several that people with a spinal cord injury go through. The reason I'm sharing this with you all is because it's Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month. This is a very important month to me, and I can imagine several others. Many people after breaking their neck or back have to go through their life all over again, relearning a lot of already grasped skills beforehand. Spinal cord injury is scary and can change people's perspectives on how simple tasks can take every ounce of strength we've gained. I'm going to go through the entire alphabet to give insight on every single issue, majority, that people with an SCI go through. Today is letter C. I weirdly enough have 2 for today's letters, so buckle up. The first thing that correlates with the letter C is catheters. As mentioned previously in letter B, I have to use catheters to keep my bladder healthy. I have used thousands of catheters throughout my injury. Catheters are such an undeniable lifesaver for me. I literally couldn't live without them. There are several types of catheters: condom, suprapubic, intermittent catheter, just to name a few. I use an intermittent catheter every 5 hours and go through 3 more in a day, so I use about averagely 8 a day. And as you might think, that adds up on top of the 10,000 catheters I used in 15 months. In my entire 4 years and 3 days living with a spinal cord injury, I've used approximately 15,546 catheters, and that cost me a total of $130,776 with Botox. I know, a staggering number, right? Catheters help me so much in daily life, honestly so much so that I kind of tune them out. I can't do a cath on my own, and someone has to transfer me out of my chair and help me. I've done this process, well, you've seen the number, yes, thousands of times. So to me, it's such a small part of my day, but a big deal at that. Catheters are my literal lifesaver, besides what I'm going to talk about next. Another correlation I have with the letter C is coughing. You might ask why I bring this up. It's simply to bring awareness of the fact I cannot cough well. Coughing and breathing go hand in hand with a spinal cord injury, specifically C3, C4, C5, I think C6. Control the breathing. I damage every vertebrae that aids in breathing, and I've had a ventilator twice, a diaphragmatic pacemaker, and several intubations. So as you can imagine, my cough is quite weak. It's not that I cannot cough, it's just when I cough I sound extremely gargled and nothing gives out. Thankfully, I have several breathing assistants to help me produce a stronger cough. I have a cough assist, chest percussion vest, a butyral mask, inhaler, BiPAP, 3 ventilators, suctioning, old diaphragmatic pacemaker that I had for 15 months, just to name a few. This life-saving equipment helps me live more comfortable and help me not catch pneumonia or any other deadly lung disease. This equipment has helped me stay out of the hospital numerous times, and for that I'm very grateful. The letter C is a really big staple in the SCI community, leading with more and more medical equipment that allows for more living and less, not to be dark, dying. Without this life-saving equipment, I could have developed a serious UTI or a very bad cough, which could likely kill me. That's letter 3 of 27. See you for letter D. Today is the 4th day of sharing a letter every day that helps people understand more about spinal cord injury. What's a better time to share information about SCI and Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month? I honestly think it's perfect. Today is letter D. The letter D stands for depression. Trigger warning. No one prepares you for the physiological weight of a spinal cord injury. It's not just paralysis, it's loss, grief, fear, anger, and exhaustion layered into every day. Being ventilator dependent is its own world of vulnerability. Every machine alarm, every disconnection, every power outage brings panic. Never entirely safe. It was 17 months after my injury, I finally had the chance to be, to the best extent, recovered. At this point, I was beginning to wrap my brain around what I had done, completely turned my life upside down. So many things I loved dearly were now gone from me. Forever. No track, no basketball, no swimming. It felt like I had lost everything, and I didn't want it. Since I couldn't move anything below my neck, down besides my thumb, I used my voice to get my husband's attention. He was the only one I thought to ask. He came over and I said, I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't even get all the way through my sentence before he understood and consoled me in tears. After the accident, after my C3 spinal cord was severed, Everything I knew about being alive collapsed. My body became a cage. I was no longer in control. I was trapped inside myself. I spent 8 months in the ICU, intubated, motionless, voiceless. Machines breathed for me. Nurses turned me. I couldn't cry, couldn't scream. I just existed in this haunting stillness, surrounded by beeping monitors and sterile lights that never turned off. It was hell, a silent mechanical hell. 17 months in, something inside me broke beyond repair. I turned to Matthew, the man I love more than anything, and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. That wasn't a cry for help. That was me standing at the edge of something dark and endless, and letting go. This was my first suicide attempt. The first time I tried to leave this broken shell behind. But it wasn't the last. 3 times I tried to disappear. 3 times I let the shadow whisper to me, pull at me, convince me that death might be the only peace left. I was so close, closer than I want to remember. I wasn't sure if I was dying, but I knew I was terrified. My body couldn't move. My throat was full of plastic and air and silence. I was intubated, trapped, conscious, enough to know I was alive, but not enough to understand what was happening around me. That's when the fear began, raw, primal, and suffocating. At first it was just confusion. Where am I? What's happening? But it turned into something much worse. Panic attacks, so intense they didn't feel like emotions. They felt like chemical warfare inside my chest. My heart pounding like it was trying to rip itself out of my body. My skin burned, my muscles tensed until they shook. Even though I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe on my own, but somehow I felt like I was suffocating. I was so scared to die. I could feel my mind spiraling into this frantic hyper-awareness, counting heartbeats, imagining my body shutting down, organ by organ. Every beep of the machine sounded like a countdown. Every nurse's voice blurred into the white noise, like I was underwater. I couldn't speak, couldn't scream, couldn't beg. But at the very same time, I was also okay with it, with dying. If this was it, fine. There was a part of me that felt so far gone, so cracked open by pain and fear, that letting go seemed easier than surviving. I wasn't sure if I was giving up or just letting the current take me. Contradiction tore me in half, desperate to live, yet ready to die. And then came the ICU delirium, and that's when reality really started to melt. I lost track of time, of dreams, of what was real. I saw shadows where there were none. I thought people were trying to hurt me. I hallucinated voices, some familiar, some terrifying. There were moments I thought I was already dead, and trapped somewhere in between. My body wasn't mine anymore. It was a battlefield. No one talks about this part, the physiological violence your body wages against itself. When it's trapped in its survival mode, the way your nervous system becomes your enemy. My fight or flight response was firing on all cylinders, but there was nowhere to run. I was tied to machines. I was drowning on dry land. It felt like dying over and over again, and somehow I didn't, but the fear etched itself into me like a scar you can't see. And yet, I'm still here. Now, 48 months later, I look back on that moment, on the girl who wanted to end it all at 17 months, and I grieve for her. I also thank God she didn't succeed. Because somehow through the darkness, I found slivers of light. I found people, my people, holding me up when I couldn't hold anything at all. I feel again, I love, and even though some days are still hard, I see now that there is beauty even in this body, even in this life that was shattered and rebuilt into something new. I didn't die, I survived, and I'm so deeply, fiercely grateful that I'm still here to love the people around me. That's where I started, and I imagine it's where a lot of people begin their journey with an SCI. It's easy to think the physical change is what is most traumatic, but I'd argue the dramatic change to one's mental health is just as traumatic and can change one's thoughts on life. The SCI center where I rehabbed for 7 months knew my mental health had been affected, which is why counseling was a regular part of my rehab regimen. The hours I spent in there crying and being open and beginning to heal, I'll never forget. But depression is like a disease, if you will. Once it takes root, it'll hold on to you. Though I was much happier after returning home, my depression lingered, a quiet and steady reminder that everything is different and can never go back. In fact, even over half a decade later, since my first quadriplegic injury, I still feel the dark pull from time to time. Emotionally, I've had to fight through dark places, times where I felt more like an object than a person, but there have also been moments of resilience, small wins, and growing understanding of what it means to survive. Mental health is so incredibly important, and that goes for everyone. No matter your circumstances, depression is very real, and I urge all of you to take time to care for your mental health. Therapy is a fantastic tool and nothing to be ashamed of. I'm so grateful for everyone's support over the past 6 years. My first quadriplegic injury in 2019 and my second in 2021. Total of 6 years. It is day 5 of sharing an alphabet letter that correlates to one problem out of the several that people with a spinal cord injury go through. The reason I'm sharing this with you all is because it's Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month. This is a very important month to me, and I can imagine several others. Many people, after breaking their neck or back, have to go through their life all over again, relearning a lot of already grasped skills beforehand. Spinal cord injury is scary and can change people's perspectives on how simple tasks can take every ounce of strength we've gained. One of them is experience. Not the experience you might expect. Experience number 1, 8 months in a coma. In September 2021, my life changed forever. I sustained a spinal cord injury at the C3 level, leaving me paralyzed from the neck down and dependent on a ventilator to breathe. I spent the first 8 months in a coma. It's strange to think about that time, a black hole in my memory while my body was fighting battles I wasn't even aware of. When I finally woke up, everything was different. I woke up in a new body and didn't know how to use, and honestly, it was hard to look at. Experience number 2, a year in the hospital. I spent nearly a full year in the hospital after being in the coma and coming out of the coma. Those early days were a blur of beeping machines, emergency interventions, endless tests, and the reality of being fully ventilator dependent. I had to relearn how to exist in a body that no longer obeyed my commands. I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe on my own, I couldn't even speak. Experience number 3, living with neurogenic bladder after my spinal cord injury. When I sustained my C3 spinal cord injury in September 2021, one of the many complications I faced was neurogenic bladder, the loss of normal bladder function due to the disruption of my spinal cord. While I was in a coma for 8 months, I was introduced to intermittent catheterization, as my body couldn't urinate on its own. Experience number 4, the early phase, 24 catheters a day. During those early months, I required 24 catheters per day, 1 every hour, just to keep my bladder from becoming dangerously overfilled. This went on for 15 straight months. In that time alone, I used over 10,000 catheters. It was exhausting for my caregivers, and my body paid the price with frequent irritation, but it was necessary to survive. Catheterization became a daily invasive reality, something I never imagined would become a normal part of my life. But it was the only way to manage my bladder safely, reduce infection risk, and prevent complications like autonomic dysreflexia, or AD. Experience number 5, 2023, a dangerous misdiagnosis and setback. Unfortunately, in 2023, a serious error by a doctor nearly cost me my life. Despite clear evidence of a neurogenic bladder, this doctor wrongly concluded that I was simply incontinent and incapable of avoiding urine naturally. Because of this, I was reduced to using only 9 catheters for the entire year, a catastrophic undertreatment for someone with a high-level spinal cord injury like me. The result was devastating. I developed severe urinary tract infections, UTIs, repeatedly. My episodes of autonomic dysreflexia skyrocketed, with blood pressure surges so extreme they caused many strokes, life-threatening and terrifying. I lost precious time and stability because a medical professional failed to understand or respect my diagnosis. Experience number 6, 2024, a new catheter schedule and turning the corner. Thankfully, in 2024, I got a new care team that recognized the urgency of my condition. I was placed on a proper schedule of 8 catheters per day, tailored to manage my bladder health and prevent dangerous buildups or infections. Since then, I've been able to return to a more stable routine, and I've already used more catheters in 2024 than I did during all of 2023. It's hard to explain how something so small, an intermittent catheter, can mean the difference between life and death. For me, it does. Mismanaging catheter use nearly killed me. Correct management helped stabilize my health and quality of life. Experience number 7, by the numbers, a life tracked in catheters. Over the course of my injury, I've used over 15,500 catheters. Each one represents a moment of intervention, pain, frustration, or relief. It's not just routine, it's survival. Experience number 8, living with it every day. Learning to navigate life with catheters has been a daily struggle. It's intrusive, it's uncomfortable, it adds to the mental and physical burden of already living as a ventilator-dependent C3 quadriplegic. But it's something I've had to adapt to and rely on. Because my bladder doesn't just malfunction, it puts my life in danger when ignored. Experience number 9, going home. A new kind of hell. Going home was supposed to be relief, a milestone, but instead it introduced a new kind of daily trauma. The biggest struggle was showers. What should have been a simple cleansing ritual became a nightmare. Every shower felt like I was drowning, suffocating while sitting helplessly in a chair, the air thick with humidity and fear. I was panicking, gasping through my own weak lungs, terrified with each spray of water. My mind screamed, but my body couldn't run. Every shower was 30 minutes to an hour of physiological torture. Experience number 10, muscle atrophy and watching myself fade. Over time, I began to notice the changes in my body, my arms and legs growing thinner, my skin becoming more fragile. With virtually no movement below the neck, my muscles continued to atrophy. It's not just a cosmetic issue, it's physical and emotional. I watched myself fade. The body I once knew is now foreign to me. I've had to be extremely careful with skin integrity, positioning, pressure sores, and contractures. My body feels more vulnerable now than ever. Experience number 11, a flicker of hope in 2023. And then, something changed. In 2023, I regained thumb movement and sensation. It may sound small to someone who hasn't lived this, but it was everything. After years of nothing, my thumb moved. I could feel it. It felt like my body was whispering back to me, I'm still here. The one movement gave me a sliver of hope, a possibility that not everything is lost. Experience number 12, my colostomy journey, finding relief after years of struggle. In March of 2025, I underwent a colostomy after battling through 3 incredibly difficult years of relentless bowel programs. For a long time, I was spending around 21 hours per week on the toilet, essentially losing almost a full day each week to something most people barely think about. A deeply personal detail that I rarely share is that during this time, I developed hemorrhoids, which triggered autonomic dysreflexia (AD), and a wide range of uncomfortable and sometimes dangerous symptoms. It was exhausting both physically and emotionally. Eventually, after trying everything I could, I made the decision to move forward with the 2-piece colostomy system, and honestly, it's been one of the best decisions for my quality of life. The adjustment took time, but I've learned to manage it. I've only had 3 leaks since the surgery. Annoying, yes. And back changes can be frustrating, but overall, I'm doing well. I'm sharing this not because it's easy, but because others going through similar struggles deserve to know they're not alone and that there could be relief on the other side of a tough decision. Experience number 13, where I am now. 4 years later, I am still here. I live with a ventilator. I have a colostomy. For context, I was also given a colostomy march, a surgical necessity to manage bowel care, which became just one more thing in a long list of bodily functions I could no longer control. It was a survival decision, like many others, but it was one more piece of my identity, my dignity, that I had to reframe and relearn to live with. My body is thinner, weaker, but I also have sensation in my thumb, and with it, a fragile but real sense of progress. My life doesn't look anything like it used to, but I still live it. Every hard, messy, painful, quiet day. This injury didn't just paralyze my body. It cracked open my whole world, and somehow I'm still here, finding new ways to exist within it. A lot of people in the SCI community have tons of experience of being paralyzed, accessibility issues, medical equipment, and tons more. You're not alone. That's letter 5 of 27. See you for letter F. It is day 6 of sharing an alphabet letter that correlates to one problem out of the several that people with a spinal cord injury go through. The reason I'm sharing this with you all is because it's Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month. This is a very important month to me, and I can imagine several others. Many people after breaking their neck or back have to go through their life all over again, relearning a lot of already grasped skills beforehand. Spinal cord injury is scary and can change people's perspectives on how simple tasks can take every ounce of strength we've gained. Today is letter F. The letter F stands for financial burden. When people hear that I survived a spinal cord injury, the first thing they often ask is, how are you feeling now? Or they'll say things like, you're so strong, or I can't imagine what you've been through. But almost no one talks about the financial side of surviving something like this. The cost, not just physically or emotionally, but financially, nearly destroyed my family and me. And I want to talk about that because the financial burden is real, and it's something too many people suffer through in silence. My spinal cord injury wasn't just a bump in the road, it was a total derailment. This surgery alone was incredibly intense and urgent, and it came with a hefty price tag of $50,000. That's not including any of the pre-op, prep, or post-op complications. That's just to get through the surgery. Then came the hospital stay. I spent a full year in the ICU. Yes, you read that right. 365 days at $9,000 per night. That alone totaled over $4 million just to survive, just to breathe and be kept alive in the hospital bed. And of course, it didn't end there. After being discharged, I faced an overwhelming amount of aftercare, physical therapy, occupational therapy, home health aides, medications, assistive devices, and doctor's appointments became my new routine. Easily, my aftercare costs totaled over $100,000, and that's a conservative estimate. My family, especially my spouse Matthew, bore the brunt of this financial storm. We weren't even 3 years out from the injury, and we were already drowning in bills. We were making ends meet just to eat, just to pay rent, just to live. And here's the kicker. That is dust from the spinal cord injury. The cost didn't start there. Before the spinal cord injury, I had already undergone another major medical event. My arm had to be replanted due to cancer. The surgery alone cost us $500,000, $500,000 gone, just to save my limb and my life. So, By the time I found myself in the ICU for a year, my family was already financially battered. We were running on fumes, and yet we had no choice but to keep going. It's brutal, it's shitty, but it's real. There's no sugarcoating this. The financial cost of living with a spinal cord injury is brutal. It's not just numbers on a hospital bill. It's sacrifices, sleepless nights, and gut-wrenching choices. We had to fight to survive physically, but also fight to survive financially. Today, I'm extremely grateful to have great insurance that covers most of my ongoing medical costs. That's a blessing not everyone has, and I don't take it for granted. But I'll never forget the years when we had nothing but bills, debt, and fear. Why am I sharing this? I'm sharing this not for sympathy, but because this story is far more common than people realize. Medical debt is one of the leading causes of financial hardship in this country. For families like mine, who never asked for any of this, it's a devastating hidden cost of trauma. I survived a spinal cord injury, but surviving everything that came after has been a battle in itself. If you're going through something similar, I see you, you're not alone. And if you haven't, I hope this gives you a better understanding of what people like me go through. Not just physically, but financially, every single day. This is letter 6 of 27. See you for letter G. Quick disclaimer. I realize that I have two big posts, and I often read them from the screen to allow you guys to get the knowledge about my spinal cord injury and the many hardships that people with a spinal cord injury face. And I was doing it by a 26-letter day challenge, and I also do want to apologize. I said 27, but my brain was fried. There are actually 26 letters in the alphabet, so there are 26 letters. And I had realized that this video is 25 minutes long. So to combat that, I am doing a 4-part series. It is celebrating my 4-year anniversary of a spinal cord injury by sharing letters that have a meaning behind them, issues I face and other people face. But I had realized that this video is too long, so this will be part 1. There will be 4 parts or 5 parts in total, and each of them will contain around 6 to 7 letters or 8. If it's great, it's going to contain 10. I do apologize for the inconvenience. These will be uploaded in the last days of September. The first one is going to be September 26th. The second one is going to be September 27th. The third one is going to be September 28th. The fourth one is going to be September 29th. And the last one, maybe, if that one gets out, is going to be on the last day of September. So thank you all so much for celebrating Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month with me by indulging into these videos, by hearing my thoughts and my stories about living with a spinal cord injury. So I appreciate it, and I will see you for part 2.